Okay, X Takeover. We got our third panel. And this is gonna be a good one, EV charging. And this, I'm gonna hit you with the little story here because this particular product, the EVject that we are about to discuss, really hits home for me. I was charging a couple weeks ago at a supercharger, 10 p.m. at night, 10:30. It's late, and I see this Tesla go like skirt into the thing next to me. Open the door, beer can falls out. Two drunk guys are charging, and I'm looking next to me, and this guy's like bent over, and he has a gun in his pocket. And I'm like, this is the worst situation. They're like, literally, it's totally. I was next. My girlfriend was next to me. I was like, I'm so scared right now. I don't know what to do. Like, just play it cool. Then I got out, unplugged, and we drove away. But this startup here makes a product where you don't have to get out and unplug. So if you're alone charging at night, you can actually just drive away. And I don't know, that it's a crazy coincidence because that happened to me like a week ago, and then I just discovered this product, and I'm like, wow, this is, as more people start charging, this is just going to be more and more important. So we've got the awesome privilege of having the founder of EVject, Kreg Peeler, who's coming up. Well, let's give a warm X Takeover welcome for Kreg from EVject. Woo! And joining him will be the product officer of Tesla owners Silicon Valley, Ted Marena, who hosts Trusted reviews. So I'll let these two gentlemen take it away and give them a round of applause.
Thank you, Gally. All right, thanks everybody. I'm actually really excited to have and host this talk. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Ted Marena, as Gally said. I do a lot of content for the Tesla owner Silicon Valley, including the Trusted reviews. And one of the recent ones that I did was actually for this product. And so EVject, I want to basically explain to you guys what it is, and then let's get into a few more details and you get a little backstory and sort of reasons behind why I think this product is really vital, especially for anyone that road trips and supercharges. So can we cue that video? This will explain what is EVject and why do you need it.
Oh, the kitty.
Is that the Tesla Cybertruck? I heard that thing's bulletproof. We gotta test it out.
Little kitty. Oh, hell nah.
And that's an example that without the EVject, you could not leave a charging situation like that. So when you're charging at a supercharger, if you road trip at all, without EVject, you are not going to be able to leave. You literally can't drive away. So you won't be able to unplug and drive away, but with this product you can. So hopefully that gives you like a live demonstration. But anyway, I want Kreg to kind of take over from here. So tell us a little bit about the company. Like, what was the motivation?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me, and thank you, Tesla community. Love being here. This is our second year as the title sponsor of X Takeover. And really, we can't take credit for discovering the idea. This is a situation where we were actually working on some other products for Teslas and other EVs, and we were watching Now You Know with Zach and Jesse. Anybody watch Now You Know, Zach and Jesse? Love their series. They do Tesla Time News every week, and they had a bunch of their community that had sent in videos of them feeling very vulnerable at superchargers. And they said, this is a real problem. And they're like, this is a serious problem because Teslas, as we know, are the safest car on the road. The charging experience is unmatched. They have the best supercharging network, but these women are feeling vulnerable while plugged in. And it's something that I had never thought of. And they actually issued a challenge, and they said, someone out there, please, some inventors out there, would you please solve this problem? And so they went so far as to host a competition. And we were one of the 4 finalists, and we sent in our prototype. And the first prototype was actually kind of a dud, gotta be honest. It actually hooked. I've got a supercharger here. I did not steal this. We got it on eBay, so maybe somebody stole it, but not us. So here's a supercharger cable from a V3. And So I'm okay right now, then maybe in a minute. But the first one actually hooked on the outside and was spring-loaded. And we had a remote so that you could push a button and it would eject out, which is the logical choice. The problem with that is, first of all, when it hit the ground, you don't know how it's going to land. It could break the device. But also, people had a hard time fastening it in exactly the right position, because if you fasten it too far back, the spring wouldn't have enough movement to eject it. Anyway, that was the solution that we submitted for the competition. And they didn't really say first, second, third place, but we were one of the good solutions. They said, they kind of said, well, they're all winners, but none of these are probably market viable. And we didn't leave it alone. We kept going back to the drawing board, trying to figure out what else we could do. And we decided, really the feature that needs to work 100% of the time is that it has to let you shift into drive. And with a spring-loaded mechanism, some of the others were different types of springs. One was a motor-driven, but all of them had an opportunity to fail. And so we realized that if we just cut the communication pins, if we had basically a circuit breaker and we disconnected the communication pins, which are the two small pins on the bottom of a supercharger, if we disconnect those, then the car 100% of the time will shift into drive, because we cannot have any situation where it doesn't work. Now, the problem with this is, in order to do that and to make it foolproof and everything else without spring mechanisms and motors and others, we had to make it sacrificial, which means if you drive away, it separates into two parts. One half stays on the charging wand and protects as it falls to the ground. I can demonstrate that here.
Yep, sure.
So it's hard to do two-handed demos and hold a microphone. So when you drive away, it separates like this. This part stays in the charge port. This part acts like a helmet to the charging cable, and as it falls, it actually protects and takes the impact. And so we designed it with the mindset that this should only be really used in an emergency, but we don't want people using it because they're lazy. We don't want people using it to be pranksters. And so we figured if we make it sacrificial, it actually is a feature. It protects the equipment. People don't just go use it willy-nilly for fun. And we talked to Sandy Monroe about this. He said, absolutely. He's like, do not make this device reusable, because then people are going to use it to just eject and drive away and be jerks. And so we're like, okay, if Sandy says so, it's good enough for us, because he's a product genius. And so the device is virtually indestructible. You can drive over it. It's waterproof. We've left it at the bottom of a pool for 30 days, pulled it out and used it, worked flawlessly. And we have driven over it as many as 10 times with the Cybertruck without any problems. And so anyway, we're really happy with how the design turned out. It's really simple, though. That mechanism inside is initiated when you hit unlock charge port. So switching back.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you hit unlock charge port, that's when it disconnects the communication pins and does that circuit breaker and allows you to shift into drive. So we can guarantee that it will work every time.
So, Kreg, I think it's a great story, and I think it's important to have taken that time to sort of explain between the video and this simple demonstration here. I really think of your device as insurance, right? You hope that you'll never be in a situation where it's required, but I actually, just like Gally had a bizarre charging situation, I had a similar type of thing where I'm charging, and all of a sudden this dude comes up to my car and he's got like a beak mask on. And this is the middle of the day. This is not like at night or whatever. And I'm not like a small person, and I was startled. I was just like, oh my God, the worst thoughts go through your mind. And so I can only imagine people who use superchargers regularly, something like this is really a requirement. And it's one of those insurance type things that you hope you never need to use. I did do a video of it, and so I reviewed this product. If you go to the Tesla Owners Silicon Valley YouTube page or X site, you'll find it there. I just want to get a little more background. So what were some of the challenges when you did the development? I mean, you spoke a little bit to how you implemented it, but is there anything else that you'd highlight in terms of like what were some of the challenges and what you had done to overcome them and come to market?
Yeah, Elon says it best when he says prototyping is child's play, but manufacturing is almost as hard as getting to the surface of Mars, like mass manufacturing. And we're not at that scale. We're not trying to build Cybertrucks, times a million. But as we ramped up to build thousands of units, it was very, very different than building the prototypes. So I'm proud to say last year we were here with 12 prototypes. They were 3D printed, and we could show that they worked. In fact, bearded Tesla guy who was just on stage, he got one of our prototypes, and he drove from here to Florida, and he posted at every stop. I think it was like 32 stops. And we watched those videos on pins and needles every time because they were just a prototype. And it held up. It worked flawlessly the whole way. And then at the end of his drive, he did the breakaway, and it all worked. And that was with a 3D printed model. But from last year's X Takeover, or Tesla Takeover, until this year, we had to figure out manufacturing. And we ramped up all the molding and the work to get these injection molded devices. The material is glass-filled polymer, so it's very strong. In fact, we've done some tests, and we've pushed as much amperage through them as possible to the point that we want to see at what point it melted. And the charging wand melted before our device did. So we actually used higher quality material than the actual
Yeah,
Tesla
that's really
charging equipment.
amazingly impressive.
Yeah. So we want them to be foolproof and bulletproof and everything we can, so that if it's on the device and you drive over it, it actually protects your wand. So I actually have one on my home charger because it's another benefit that, like, you drop it, your kids unplug it and drop it. It protects your charging equipment, and it's an easy replacement to just put a new tip on there. So
Makes sense. Totally makes sense. We've talked a little bit about it, and I gave in some examples. But who would you also say are the ideal target customer for your product? Because I know you have the Tesla NACS connector, but is there what would you consider your target customer?
yeah, I've got a few slides here. I don't have enough hands to hold mics and everything, but we do have new versions for both CCS1 and CCS2 in development. We have working prototypes of those. Those are kind of the stage that the NACS version was last year. They're 3D printed and they work fine, but we're ramping up mass production for those. But going back to your question, really, it's this. This is what Zach and Jesse were zeroing in on. There was a study recently that 43% of women have major safety concerns with EV charging, and that's prevented them from buying EVs. And that's just really sad to me because we all love our EVs, especially our Teslas, and they're safe. And they have so many convenient features. But if this is preventing people from feeling like they should drive an EV because they're worried about being stuck at a public charger, we want to overcome that. We want to give them an option to feel that peace of mind, to have that safety, an option to escape, and that is why we exist. And so we really don't want anybody to feel like they're a sitting duck or feeling vulnerable at a supercharger.
No, that's I can vouch for just having used the product, recorded the video, and to be honest with you, I was if you watch the end of the video where I actually am at a supercharger and I detach it and it breaks away, there were two things running through my mind. The first thing is, I hope this thing works because I don't want to be Trust Ted, known as the person who pulled a cable out of a supercharger, right, and recording it while I was doing it. So I had that fear, but of course the product worked great. But then the other part is, now I don't have the device anymore. So that may be kind of a concern that people have.